4 heroes dare to answer.
This is Christian from Gamereactor Germany. I'm in London together with Rob Tatnell, the art director for Gauntlet, and we'll be talking a little about that really nice game. Can you give us a brief idea why we need a new Gauntlet? Because there obviously is a very good old game.
Wow, why we need a new one? Why not, I guess. I think something that we're seeing happening recently at the moment in video games is that a lot of games tend to either go for that single-player cinematic experience, or they tend to be more online multiplayer. And I think we feel that we're losing a certain amount of 4-player, sit on a couch, have a couple of beers, get a load of friends round, that real good fun in front of the TV gameplay. And that's something that we want to bring back with bringing the new version of Gauntlet out.
That obviously initially brings me to the fact that this game is currently scheduled for PC, and what you just described is a usual scenario for console players. So is there anything planned in that terms?
We are working on bringing it to Steam. What that also entails, we'll actually be bringing it to the Steam machines as well. So we're going to bring it to the TV in that respect, working with Steam and bringing it to their boxes.
So no consoles, no PS4, no, just yet?
There's no plans for console at the moment.
Okay. There is obviously, if you know the old game, some of the ideas transferred. I heard speakings about you doing sort of a remix of the game. Can you give me an idea of what that is supposed to sound like?
There's a lot of things that do and don't transfer very well from a 1985 original game. We have looked a lot at the arcade game, and there are certain elements, things like your health ticking down. The game was obviously designed for you to put in quarters and keep playing and keep feeding in money, so that's something that we've addressed, and we've thought, well, this doesn't necessarily work too well in a modern game. There's a lot of stuff that we've also taken as well in terms of the heroes having different play styles, different abilities, different strengths and weaknesses against different types of monsters, and that's something we've kept and we've brought on with the new Gauntlet. We wanted to really take the 1985 game as a base and really sort of do it justice and take a lot of that chaotic fun that you had with the original game and translate that into a more modern setting.
You also kept the original idea that there is 4 different types of characters, and you can't play as 4 elves or 4 wizards. You like that idea?
Yeah, we like it. We're keeping it. There's a lot of gameplay and a lot of fun to come from how each of the heroes interacts with one another and how they interact with a massive horde of monsters. There's obviously, you've got the difference between the melee characters and the ranged guys as well. The melee guys are really good at getting in there. The Valkyrie, for example, she's really good at holding off a big horde of enemies with her sort of defensive abilities. The warrior's really good for just getting in there, destroying spawners, wiping out large hordes. Whereas the ranged guys are really good at staying at the back, and just the wizard's really useful for sort of adding status effects, burning things, slowing them down. The elf is really good at picking out certain enemies and just wiping out, the really strong ranged guy that's at the back that's really causing a problem for the melee guys. And so, yeah, we've kept that unique sort of skill, and it really feels good, I think, to actually play with different heroes and combining how they work together in a good way to fight a lot of monsters.
There is a customization aspect to the game that you can obviously do by using the money you earn in the game. Can you explain us a little about how that works?
Yeah, as you work your way through the game, you'll be earning gold. So that's one of the big things that we wanted to keep from the original, is the gold that you pick up. You collect gold, and you'll be collecting you'll be unlocking different secrets, finding different things, and your collection of gold and other bits and pieces come together, and they're what you use for unlocking your relics, and they're also used for unlocking visual customization as well. So each of the heroes will be able to customize visually, change their weapon, change how they look, and you progress through the game and you unlock relics as you do so, and the relics is what comes along to add that, the customizability of how you play and how you fight as well.
Gold you obviously collect as a party, so there is no need to be jealous at each other in that respect. But is there some sort of rating after a level is finished, so you can see who did best and who did worst?
We're tracking each player's gold individually. The idea with having a central pool is that if someone dies, it hurts the team. So where we have the system in for buying back your revival, you either wait a certain period of time or you actually pay money out of your team's gold pot to come back to life. So you really need to be careful how you're spending the gold and how you're playing, and because if you're a bad player, you're affecting everyone else. That being said, we do, like I say, track each of the heroes' individual gold, and we're looking at showing you who's the best player, who got the most gold, who got the most kills. And because we want to keep that element of, you're working together to get through this level, but you're all secretly working for your own winnings and your own title.
You can see that because, at most of the times there is no friendly fire being switched on, but if you use the special attacks, you can sort of disturb your friends, is that something that's really important for the game, disturbing each other at a certain degree?
Yeah, definitely. That's something that we like to do with Arrowhead games, to keep that chaotic ability to grief one another a little bit in there. That's something we're currently working at figuring out how the best way of doing it is. We did start working quite early on with having your attacks do damage to your friends, and that works reasonably well if you are a group of people who have the same abilities. If you're a group of ranged characters, for example, then that works a lot better. But when you move it into a situation where you have guys at the back doing ranged attacks and you have guys in the middle fighting things and doing melee attacks, you find that you're very easily setting people on fire, shooting people in the back. And that, it's fun for a little while, but after a little while you really get really annoyed at the fact you're dying because the wizard is firing fireballs at the same enemy that you're trying to kill. And like you say, we've got the heavy attacks do knockback, and they disturb your friends, so you can still cause an amount of grief, but you're less able to kill them. That is still something that we are actively working on, making sure that you get the right balance right there. We want to have that player versus player griefing and maintain that, but at the same time we want to make sure that it stays fun and we do the best thing for actually enjoyment of the game as well.
There was talks about you trying to integrate sort of a hardcore mode that really focuses on the skilled player, because there's also saying that you are more a gameplay-driven developer than anything else. Is there something you can comment on that, the hardcore mode?
Yeah, sure. We've been making sure that we get the balancing right. That's something that's really... It's being really interesting to try and work with, because you have 4 different heroes with their different skills, and making sure that the game scales and reacts and works really well for each of those heroes, whether you're playing one person, whether you're playing 4 people. We have been doing a lot of work recently on actually working into the difficulty level and having modes that prove a challenge for skilled players. We've actually had one that we recently introduced that a lot of people behind the studio have sort of stayed late, and we put it on, really ramped up the difficulty, and getting 4 of the developers sitting there, and they stayed quite a bit into the night making sure that they could actually get through just this one level, just to make sure they could get through it. Because when you ramp up the difficulty and you make things more interesting, that's when the interaction and the strengths and the weaknesses come from each of the different heroes. And so you need to make sure that you're a good team working together to fight everything, because when you put that difficulty really, really high, you really, really need to work together as a team.
Yeah, give us a brief description of the relic system that is in the game and how that does affect the way the heroes work.
Yeah, as I mentioned, the relics are things that you unlock as you go through, as you earn gold. They add an additional attack or additional ability. We're still working on fleshing out exactly which ones are in there. As you saw in the demo, we have the freeze ring, so that's really good at doing a blast radius freeze effect on a large group of enemies, and that buys you some more time, or it may just maybe make it better for you to come in with a certain attack. We really wanted the relics to be something that augments and builds on your base set of skills. Each of the heroes has their own set of skills, but what really brings the variation and the thought behind, when you go into the dungeon, making sure that you're equipped the best that you possibly can for dealing with certain enemies, that's where the relics come in. And it's about combining, making sure that you have the best relics to go with your hero so that you form the best fighting person in combination with everyone else.
Thank you.
Invade the darkness.